Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Gabe.
It's Caleb.
And today you are listening to the 43rd episode of the Positive Outlook Podcast. Now, what are we talking about today?
Today we were talking about how to be there for somebody.
And when you say how to be there for somebody, what does that mean?
How to be there is just kind of, so you have a friend or you know someone that's going kind of through their rough patch.
Yep.
And just how to support them appropriately.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people that are either A, they kind of bail, or B, they just don't know how.
Yeah, kind of do too much or overwhelm or don't empathize well. I understand that. Yeah. So I know, everybody has people in their life that do either or.
Right.
But I guess when it comes to being there for somebody, what do you like to do?
Honestly, I like to make sure I'm very careful that I don't make it about me. Mm-hmm. That's a common mistake with people is they like to be like, well, when I went through this, I did this.
Right.
And they don't necessarily want to hear about that. I know you're just trying to be helpful, but that's just not what they want to hear at that moment.
Right. Well, you have to understand that everybody's different.
Right.
And everybody, we talked about this, I think in the last episode.
We've talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah. How everybody, you could follow the same blueprint. You and I could do the same two things to get through a situation and both come out with like a different, either result or perspective on the situation. And that's just because when it comes to those kind of situations, everybody has their own perspectives and their mindsets, and everybody's viewpoint is so independent on who they are.
Yep.
Like there's, however, so I don't know if you guys can see this. We have chapstick laying on the table, but like even something as simple as that, how I look at the chapstick and how you look at the chapstick, we get different feelings from it. We could get different emotions. We might be thinking we're looking at a different thing, And so that's very relative to situations in life as well.
I feel like I am back in philosophy. I'm taking philosophy this semester, and we just went over Descartes Meditations, and basically what he tries to do is find out what is absolutely certain.
Yeah.
And to find what's... Sorry, my voice is a little nasally. I've been kind of sick. But what he found out is to find something that's certain, you have to doubt everything. Mm-hmm. And so he just goes into these rabbit holes, and at the end, all he knows is certain is that he's a thing that thinks. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, just kind of stimulated that because we're talking about how we view chapstick differently. This is not an ad for Carmex, by the way. No, and if you are listening / watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that like and subscribe.
Yeah, and if you're listening on Apple Music or Spotify, remember that we
Apple Podcast.
Yeah, we do have a lot more content on our YouTube, a lot of challenges, some fun vlogs. So come check out our YouTube. Swing by, drop a comment, say hi or something.
Soon we will be doing exclusive episodes for all different platforms just to like make everyone feel equal. Yeah. But yeah, our YouTube is really on the growth side right now. We're in the middle of a challenge where we cannot check any of our statistics. Yeah. So it's really difficult.
Definitely, yeah. So we're not really sure what's going on. We're still replying to comments and everything, but as far as viewing channel analytics, it's we decided we should take a break from staring at it, let it kind of do its own thing, and then come back and record like a reaction to it.
Yeah, it's a lot harder than I thought it would be, and we still have one more week to go.
Yeah. So moving into today's episode, I think we were talking about being there for people. It's kind of the whole epitome of this episode, but I wanted to talk about something like the little things.
Sure.
Providing things for people, when it's not, I guess, entitled. So, I'll give an example. So you go to McDonald's, and you pay $1 or whatever it is now because of inflation, but $1 something for a McChicken. Yeah, you're getting McChicken, right? But you don't get like a thank you or a smile. That's not entitled because of it.
Okay.
And so it's the little things that add up. And I have a friend. I don't know if he'll get in trouble if I say his name and where he works.
So we'll just nameless.
But yeah, you know who you are. We talked not even a couple days ago on Friday. Big shout out to him. Always so pleasant when I see him. Provides me with a meal. That's all sad. I don't want to get him in trouble, but he is always so pleasant to see, and just like that. So big shout out to you. If you're watching, you know who you are. But so it's the little things. So what are some little things that you like to do in your day?
Well, this is great. I love expanding on the little things because this talks about an effect, and I don't know if we've actually discussed this on the podcast. So I'm gonna kind of take a rabbit hole, and then we can come back to the question.
Okay.
But it's about a very common thing these days that people typically know about, but it's the effect where it's like you do something for someone and you don't even realize, but it has such a big impact on that person.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the specific name of this like theory or compact effect, or it's some sort of, there's some sort of name. It's like similar to the butterfly effect, but applied specifically to this. But it's really interesting because I remember this guy was telling a story, and he got invited to this wedding, and he barely knew these people.
Yeah.
And when he showed up to the wedding, they were like, "Thank you," and they were so excited to see him. And he's like, "I'm sorry, I don't really know you. I've seen you around. That's it." And he was like, "Well, there was this one time where I was lacking confidence, and I came up and I asked you, should I go get this girl's number? And you said yes, and so I went and got it. Now I'm marrying her."
Yeah.
And he's just like blown away.
Yeah.
He doesn't even remember this event.
Right.
And now it leads to a marriage of two people. And so that's little things. When people say little things are important, that's not a cliche. That is so true. You don't know the lasting effects it can have on people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely true. I know there's a lot of things where you have such a specific memory of something that doesn't even seem important at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you bring it up to somebody and they're like, well, no, I don't remember.
Yep.
And it was like, well, that was like really powerful and meaningful to me.
100%. And actually, when I was kind of in a funk earlier, I had a friend come and tell me, and she said, you don't realize there's people out there right now that you don't know that are thinking about something you have said or done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how big of an impact we've had as human beings.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It gives you good perspective when you're down. It's a good thing to tell people when they're down. But in general, little things, I like to completely kind of go off down a rabbit hole with someone when they're having a bad day.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my most, from my personal experience, that's helped me the most.
Yeah.
I know, like, if I think you're feeling down, I try to like completely not talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds counterintuitive, but it's actually really helpful from what I've found.
Yeah. Well, and that's also like we help others depending on what helps us.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's one thing I like to do is kind of don't pay attention to the issue until it needs to be done, which is kind of bittersweet. Because it doesn't make me jump on it right now because I don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
But it also allows me to be happy without thinking about it, without having to take care of it right now.
Right.
So maybe like it's the same thing as like procrastinating homework, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you don't want to do it right now, but so you're like kind of careless and carefree right now, but the day before it's due, you're going to be stressed.
Right.
And so it's kind of like that. So it's give and take, but I think we're both kind of like that, where when we have an issue in our life, we don't like sympathy from others,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of just understand, like, this is my problem. Don't get yourself involved with it.
Right.
But I appreciate you being there for me.
Well, and on top of that, 100%, that is so true. But on top of that, it's kind of like stopping the bleeding. You're not fixing a wound,
Mm-hmm.
but you're stopping the bleeding. They're no longer thinking about it. So it's like putting a bandage over an open wound. You're not helping them stitch it up or anything, but you're helping them by taking their mind off of it.
Yeah.
You know, if someone has, cancer per se,
Mm-hmm.
and you just go out and have a day like as if it's completely normal,
Yeah.
they're even for a second, if they forget about that cancer, you're doing them some sort of favor.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome to be able to take people and kind of, I guess, change their perspective, because
Mhm.
it's nice when you can get out of that certain perspective that you have, because we get so caught up in our own minds.
Yep.
That when you get caught in that perspective and someone can take you out of it, and then like before you go back in, you can, reassess and reevaluate and pause and reflect, like what we talk about. I mean, it can change the entire situation and change someone's whole drive on the scenario.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So have you ever heard of the Pygmalion effect? I think I explained it to you before.
The term doesn't ring a bell, but I'm sure I'll go, oh.
So it's pretty much like our expectations become reality.
Okay.
So this is in line with pretty much being there for somebody, kind of understanding that we all have our differences,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna love you regardless. So it's
Right.
like that whole thing of say when we started the podcast,
Mhm.
I didn't know you at all,
Right.
but going into it, I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I was like, let's do this thing, let's start this incredible journey together. I barely know you, but let's do it. And so it's this whole thing of when you mess up, because I have faith in you, I'd tell you it's okay. We'll figure it out. Or
Right.
the podcast in general. The podcast first episode turns out bad. We have right left audio. It was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Camera quality was dog. It's just like as time went on and things kept failing, we said, I don't care. It's gonna get better. I have faith in it.
Right.
Because that was our expectation. And now look at it. It's become our reality.
Mm-hmm.
But if we looked back and we're on the first episode and we're like, this isn't going to do well, this isn't going to go well, it's kind of, we're basing the effort we're going to put into it off of our initial decision on what we think it's going to become. And so it's this whole cycle of, if I believe this is going to do well, it will do well. If I believe it's going to do poorly, it'll do poorly. 100%. And now this goes the same way with people.
Okay.
So say there's an independent situation. Now we'll kind of separate it. Now it's you and I with the podcast.
Yeah.
Where I say, when we first start, well, I don't know. I don't think Caleb's going to be the guy for the job.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you mess up, I'm like, dude, you got to do better. This isn't what I expected of you.
I do remember the explanation for this. Yep.
And so then as time goes on, you start to do worse and worse because of the pressure. I'm not building you up anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it just fails.
Right.
And so it's that whole thing with life when we have people, independent situations in our lives where they're involved with us, where we have to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yep.
Regardless, you can't go in expecting them to fail. You can't go in expecting them to be terrible because that's what you're going to get out of it.
Right.
So yeah, that's the Pygmalion effect.
Yeah, I remember you. When we were talking about it, it was more of a fast food. You were explaining the employee.
Yeah.
With the manager. So
yeah.
I remember that. That's 100%. I mean, it's the same idea as manifesting, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. And a lot of people get sick of it because every motivational speaker, it's like, I don't know if they just don't care, but they don't always tell like the step by step. They just, in essence, tell you it's all a mindset.
Yeah.
And people get sick of that. You should not get sick of that because it is a mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. If you went and watched like from a third perspective their life, you'd realize it's not that they just woke up and went, I believe, and then did it.
Yeah.
You would realize there's a lot of freaking hard work that they're not telling you about because no one cares about that. That's not the important part.
That's not the exciting part.
Right. You just know this.
Yeah.
And I know this is kind of a rabbit hole from our topic here, but I don't know. I've had a lot of people talk to me about that.
Yeah.
So I feel like I had to address that because it's just a big distraction when you go, okay, well, they're not telling me how to get there. Yeah, they really are, though.
Yeah.
Because once you unlock that mindset, you start searching for knowledge. And as we've talked about before, opportunity kind of presents itself.
Yeah, it definitely does. How do you feel about the tactic of storytelling when it comes to helping somebody with a situation?
I immediately am going to guess. I'm going to ask you if this is what you mean real quick.
Yeah.
So if I hear they're having a hard time, do you mean kind of apply what they're going through to a story and telling them that story?
Yeah.
I love that.
Me
honestly.
too. Yeah. I do that all the time. The story of Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorites. David and Goliath.
Yep.
All of those are, they're so fun to, I don't know. It's like the underdog story.
Mm-hmm.
It's like no one believes in you, but you have to believe in yourself and you're going to get through this kind of thing. And so it's just like that. But I was curious how you like storytelling.
Oh, yeah. No, I love doing that. Sometimes I'm real extravagant. I don't know if I've ever said it on the podcast, but I used to write a lot of books and stories. I think I did our episode with Rob.
Yeah.
Rob the drummer.
Yeah.
But I love telling stories because I could explain things to people, whether it's about myself or what I thought of them, without telling them.
Yeah.
And so they'd hear it and they'd think I'm just that good at writing, but really I'm me. I'm just disguised as the character.
Yeah.
So I do that with people. When I hear they're struggling, I'm like, have you heard of this story before? And they're like, no. And when I tell them, rarely they even pick up that it's about them, but they always get the message. Yeah. So I like to hope that helps, but it is a really cool way to address issues.
Yeah, I definitely like to. And I think that's what is so fun about reading books as well, is you learn all these different situations that people have been through. Yeah. And it's just expanding your knowledge on situations and making you realize that even though right now things seem hopeless and it seems like there is no light at the end of the tunnel, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Always. And it might just take a change of perspective, or it might take a crap ton of hard work, but regardless, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Think about it. When you're in high school feels like this is it. This is life. This is huge. Everything is so important right now. And then you get to college or college age and you look back and you go, high school was nothing. Like, it matters not at all. We were babies. Yeah. Same thing with that age. Once you hit your 30s, you're like, wow, I thought I was on top of the world.
Yeah.
Not at all. And it's this endless cycle that if you just look back and there's a Tony Robbins quote, you'll be laughing at it in the future, so why not laugh now?
Yeah.
It's a little more elegant than that, but that's essentially what the quote is. And I think that's really important to think about. How many serious situations have you been in where you look back and you laugh now, right?
Probably almost all of them.
Right. Yeah. And so it's like, obviously, if you're going through hardships, you're not just going to sit there and laugh. That's kind of scary. Yeah. But it's the idea.
But yeah, it's the principle behind it. That you shouldn't let things like that eat you up. Just understand that maybe not even in like 6 months' time, you're going to look back and say, dang, that's funny, you know. How easy is it for you to empathize? How easy is it for you to put yourself in their shoes and realize the situation and kind of understand what would help you or what you would do to make yourself feel
a little
better?
Too easy sometimes.
Yeah. What do you mean by too easy?
So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna blame the drugs when I was on surgery.
Yeah.
But I was watching this TV show and this guy gets like sold into this like not really slavery but kind of, and his master it shows the complexities that he's not just some terrible person. Yeah. But it also shows that he's a really harsh person. And so after I watched this show, it's called Marco Polo on Netflix. It's actually pretty good. But after I watched this show, I like couldn't watch a movie without putting myself in the villain's shoes. Yeah. And it was like horrible because I do have strong morals, and I don't think everyone is meant to be great and good people. Yeah. I think there's evil out there. Yeah. But I just had a hard time watching movies without like feeling for the villain. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird, but I mean, I'm an empath, I guess.
Yeah. Same situation, but see, I guess this is totally side note. Do you ever watch movies when people go underwater and they hold their breath? You hold their breath. You hold your breath with them?
100%.
Yeah.
Wait, you do this?
Yeah.
I've never met someone that's done that. Every time someone sees me do it, they think I'm weird.
I feel like a majority of people do that.
Yeah? Yeah. Do you guys do it? I mean, I guess if you're listening on Apple Podcast, you can't really tell us. So swing over to our YouTube channel, or if you're already on YouTube, comment. Do you guys ever do that? Do you ever just...
Yeah. I feel like it's very common that when people are watching movies and somebody's about to go underwater, they'll hold their breath with them.
So do you know people that do that then?
I don't know if I've ever interacted with somebody and asked them that, but we're on the topic and it just made me think of it. But I don't know. I feel like it's very common. I could be wrong. We'll find out.
I don't know. What I've done it around people or try to explain it. Because, like, you know, when you're reminiscing with someone. Yeah. And you're like, you both have these common themes, and then boom, you shoot one out, and they're like, what?
Yeah. And then you feel so awkward. You're like, come on, man.
That was me holding my breath. Every time I tell someone that, they're like, are you serious?
Yeah. Just throw me a bone, man. I know you did it too. That's funny.
Oh man, but so yeah, empath.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, empathizing is it, and also it's so important because I know I used to be such a logic person in a information based guy, where somebody was going through something and I pretty much said like, well, why? Because this is happening. It doesn't mean that this is gonna happen. Like, why are you reacting this way?
Yep, like a robot.
Yeah, but that was when I was like, 16, 17 in high school. And now that I've matured a bit and seen some of the world and what's out there, it is definitely so easy to empathize nowadays.
And that's why it's important to get outside opinions, because if you can mix that being the logical with the empath, that's the perfect combination. Yeah,
because then you feel like you have all the answers for everyone but yourself.
Right.
So it's okay.
That's how it always goes, though, right there.
So do you have anything else you want to bring up? I mean...
Yeah, one thing about being there for people is a lot of people like to say, it's cool to say, hey, man, I'm there for you. Yeah. And then they're not. Right. And so I just kind of want to address people like that. First of all, if you are one of those people, it's never too late to change that, ever.
Make it sound like an illness.
I mean... Yeah. Kind of is, though.
I mean, yeah, but it's, at the end of the day, it's never too late to do anything.
Right. So just if you're going to reach out to someone or they're going through something, you don't have to have the answers. Like we talked about for most of the episode, distracting them from their main issue sometimes is all people really want.
Or just listen.
Right, because no one wants pity. They don't want you to pull up and be like, oh, I'm so sorry for you. Yeah. That's one of the worst things I like to hear. Yeah. I don't like that at all. Yeah. So being there for someone can be little. It's like we said, it's the little things.
Mm-hmm.
But just start being there for someone, okay? It's a hard world out there, and we all feel down at some point, and just be the person that you wish you had when you were down.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like Brandon Granger said, episode 15, I believe it was.
Yes, sir. 14 actually, because it's 15 ways to leave your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So the episode was number 14.
Yeah, 14. So he told you to view yourself as somebody who loves you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is such a great change of perspective. It's like, what would your mom tell you if you messed up right now?
Yeah.
She wouldn't be saying all these harsh things that you tell yourself when you go through these situations. She would be compassionate and caring and try to build you back up.
That's actually, can I go down a rabbit hole real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know you're trying to round this out.
No, go ahead.
When I went through something over Christmas break, that's exactly what happened. I was so hard on myself.
Yeah.
I screwed up, and I was just sitting there, and I was like beating myself up and just going to town, and I called my mom, and I was so scared to talk to her about it, and I told her, and she was just like, well, you made a mistake. You're young.
Yeah.
At least you didn't do it when you're older, and just like built me up, literally.
Yeah.
So I just had to share that because it was like, you just described my situation.
Yeah, but that's how it should be.
Right.
If we can learn to love ourselves like our parents and our friends do, then we'll be fine.
100%.
Smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing, baby.
So, do you have anything else you want to add to today's episode?
Yes, I screwed up. You were right. Episode 15. It was 14 ways to leave your comfort zone.
It's not important.
I had to say it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for watching.
Or listening.
Yeah. And make sure to like and subscribe if you're new.
Or follow if you're on a different platform.
Yeah. Make sure to follow our Instagram. It's on there. It's in the description. And happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Peace.